instance during, the snowier tax season months, or I can come out, whatever works the best. But I'd say, tightening up some of the controls, that letter that I gave you, working on a couple of those things, I think would put the district in a better position financially from a control standpoint. So that would be my recommendation. And I will issue this final financial statement as soon as humanly possible. It's my mission to get it done. Do you have any questions for me?
The health benefits fund, do you have any comments on that?
Well, that fund was,
That's the same?
it didn't change because there wasn't any transfers into this fund. That was one of the areas that actually my staff and I spent quite a bit of time working on, is the medical benefit pool. And what he's referring to is page 18 and 19. So you have a fund that is, its sole purpose is to house any savings you have for health insurance, for having a higher deductible plan. And so the funds that you are saving should go in here, and theoretically, as you pay out for employees' medical, you would pay it out of here. So I would like to look at this fund and see if there's a way to make this more of a useful fund. And if you don't intend to use it in the future, maybe we need to consider different ways to structure the fund. Because I know last year there was a large transfer in to bump up the fund balance, but the only activity in this fund this year was booking interest on the investment balance. The investment balance didn't change much. So you have to find, some of the other districts I work with, and not everybody has this type of fund, but some of them will keep track regularly of, here's how much we paid in premiums, here's how much was withheld from paychecks, or how much employees paid in. The difference is how we're going to reconcile and move it out of the general fund and put it into this fund. So without really having a solid process on that, this fund just kind of sits.
So what you're telling me is no monies came out of the internal service fund this year?
It's all been inside and outside of the general fund. Which, in theory, is probably not what you intend for this fund. So you could always do what perhaps is what you did, I think it was last year, where you made an $80,000 transfer. Was it 80? I think it was last year or the year before. Yeah, one of the years, somehow it was determined that this is the money we know we have in the general fund that we need to move into this fund. It may be smart to do that more regularly.
I think there was more money in the account and Melissa decided to roll it into this. So the bank account was just basically paying the bill and that was it.
Washing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what the bank account is now, it just washes out.
Yeah, I think it would be wise to really analyze what's being withheld, what's being paid, and see what the differences are there. And that was one area that I wanted to work with you after the audit, was working through the paid expenditure, the medical benefit pool payable, and the medical benefit pool bank account. Because we really had to work hard to get all that kind of lined out. It's on my list. It's probably on your list.
Is there any other questions for Jen? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you for having me early. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your meeting. Thank you for all your patrons that are going to want to look at it. Awesome.
Okay, moving on to action item number 5 is to approve the consent agenda, which is minutes of the September regular meeting, bill payments, and classified personnel action, which is listed in the packet. So let's take a little while and review the bills.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So we have all the hires done and full staff right now, or
We're looking for another aide or one-on-one, I think, at the elementary, part-time. Think it was.
Patron input, I assume there's no patron input here. Okay, formal reports, financial report, Kim.
Okay, I don't have anything for you because we have to do a rollover now that Jen is done with the audit. So I'll have that for you the next meeting. I did put a letter in from the ISBA. I received $791 dividend, and the letter there explains what that dividend does. And basically, it pays half of our dues. Other than that, I'm happy that Jen and I got things finished up, and hopefully we can move on.
All right, thank you, Kim. I know the audit with doing the virtual audit, that probably wasn't much fun.
There was a lot of scanning, a lot of emailing.
Yeah. Hopefully next year will be better, we all hope. Technology Director's report.
Not much this month, just moving forward with all the projects we've got going on, and if anybody wants to field any questions, we're more than happy to answer them. So otherwise, I don't have anything.
So how are we doing with receiving, what all that stuff you ordered?
Let's see, what did we get in? We got in, the iPad showed up, and everything else is way off. So December at the earliest, and could be even further for some of the other stuff. So it's, we're getting it as we get it. So.
Any questions for Dan? Okay, then we'll move into Gloria's report, principal's
Everybody
report.
should have received a little packet like this. Starts with the enrollment, 133 currently. If you look at the next page, broke it down for you. Our enrollment for kindergarten through 6th grade. You see a +2, or we put names on there, but we enrolled 2 students last week. Week before we enrolled 2 other students we had previously, and next week we might enroll another 2. So we're increasing. The asterisk there means that they're on IDLA. We still get to count them on our ADA. So it's pretty good. Our after-school students, we are holding at 30. That's our capacity this year. We decreased because of the COVID, and that's it's working really well. We conducted our fall IRI. Those results are in the back packet. It's the colored packet. And what I broke it down to is a September, and then on the next sheet is October. And that is recordings for all grades. But the IRI that we report to the state is kindergarten through 3rd grade. And really what you're looking at, the red, we really want that to decrease to 0 to 5%, so you can see that we have a little bit of room there for expansion of some good reading. With that being said, we are going to start, it's called early reading intervention, and those are for our students in the red and the yellow. Those are called our tier 2 and 3s. And we're going to do a couple of week intervention starting November 2nd through the 13th. We're going to do for those kids, send out permission slips, and 4 of our teachers are going to be teaching those students some intensive interventions. Any questions on the IRI or the iStation? So again, if you compare September to October, that's why I kind of threw that in there, you can see a little decrease in some areas already from with just within 1 month. Moving along, we are, with that being said, the reading, we're having a school-wide reading, it's called a WIG, Wildly Important Goals, that kind of correlates with our leader need. So building-wide, all of our students are going to read a minimum of 10 minutes in the classroom, and then our goal is to have 1,000 AR points per month. So hopefully with that increase, that everybody is we're all intentional with those gaps will start to close. Our goal is to have all of our students increase by 1 grade level. So they're reading at a 1.2 grade level now. We want them at a 2.2 in May, regardless of their grade or age. So wherever they are now, we want 1 year's worth of growth. This year, federal programs were getting monitored, and we're getting monitored in the following categories: 1A, 2A, 4A, and 9A. So, 9A. So anyways, we're moving forward with that. I'm going to be asking the board, requesting the board a few pieces of information as we get there. We're getting monitored March 10th through the 11th. And so I have to put together a few pieces for board approval for that, but working hard on that. Professional development we just had for our Lighthouse team meeting, Leader in Me, October 8th, and we had illustrative math, our new math program, for some teachers, or all of our teachers and parapros, on an evening, October 12th, and that was great information. We are finishing up our fundraiser with a pig raffle on Friday, and if you bought pig tickets, maybe you're the lucky winner on Friday, we'll see. We're having a safety week next week, the evacuation drill like we did last week on the 27th. We've got W. Hazelbaker coming in with classes to visit. We've got Interland, and that's just a computer thing that we've spoke about that before. It's internet safety. And then lastly, a fire drill. Are there any questions?
So do you feel you have enough resources to get our students reading up to the level? I mean, kindergarten, you don't know, but like second grade and looks like 4th grade, you know, do you need extra help, or do you think you've got it?
I mean, that's $1 million question, isn't it? Of course, we'd love to have, more help. We do have a few aides that can help. As you look at September, a lot of times also, like for kindergarten, it's really the test, getting in there for them. They've never been on the iPads and sat down there, and it's a lengthy test. It's about a 30-minute test for kindergarten and 1st grade, because they're assessing different components And so it's just pretty tough. So like I said, I should do this monthly for you, and then that way you can kind of see the progression as we're closing that gap. But our title room is busy. I told you before, it's the busiest room that we have. Reading, and different, the teachers, they make requests as to what their kids need, and then, or maybe the title is just reading. So we do have that. It's nice to have title help. We have a full-time aide and a part-time aide in title. So.
I mean, the school district has the resources, has the money, so, if you can think of something that might help.
Extra body is always nice, but, let's be honest, we have a lot of behavior issues also, and so it's always been said if behavior doesn't stop, learning doesn't start. So it's that as well. If you have a full classroom full of 22 students and 6 of them are misbehaving, you're dealing with 6, and those others are left out. So everything factors. So of course, the more help the better.
Maybe looking at these months would be good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Sure. Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gloria. Superintendent's report.
Okay, so we here at the high school are at 117 now, or at least when I typed this, which is an increase of 1 from this time last year. Our October students of the month, selected by the teachers in the category of effort, were Helena Anderson and Natalie Kimbley. We had regional soils. We talked about that last meeting, if they were qualified for state. They did not. They missed out by 1 spot. So they got 4th at regionals, and then the top 3 go to state. We had homecoming the week of October 5th. It was a little bit different this year, but we had a lot of things that we normally do, and everything went pretty well. We had a good time that week. The gym floor, originally when that was done over the summer, there was an issue with the center logo. They sealed it too quickly and the paint hadn't completely dried enough, so they finally made it back, and they had to sand it all down and redo it all, and so we're set now. So I think that and it's a lot better. So the gym floor looks good right now. The volleyball district tournament, we were actually put out last night. The championships are here tonight, with the 1 seed going to the state tournament. Football playoffs will be down south, November 6th or 7th. I think actually November 6th, maybe the 7th, against probably an eastern Idaho team. I think possibly Cary. So that'll be coming up. Mr. Eggers administered the SAT test a few weeks ago. We somewhat anticipate that test, like the requirements of that, possibly being canceled this year, but if not, we got it completed, so we feel good about that. For the school district, the Isbn Convention is coming up, and I will turn this time over to Mrs. Cooper.
Okay, we have some stuff in your binder if you want to look at it. The one is about the virtual business meeting. That we're going to talk about that a little bit, and then also I put in there just the agenda. The Isbn Convention is going to happen virtually online this year, the 9th through the 12th. I talked to Quinn today to see how some of it will be ran. It's going to be sending out links to everyone's emails. We are registered for everyone to participate if they would like to or available to. So you'll get session links sent to your email. And kind of, I think there's an early bird, not the early bird, the early workshops. We do not have anyone signed up for that. We can still sign up if somebody wants to look at the early bird workshops. Just let me know. But that window's closing probably the 1st of November. But like I said, you'll get the session links sent to your email and be able to log in, watch them. The second thing that's mainly important is going to be on Thursday, November 12th. They're going to have the ISBA business session. So if you look on this first one, they're telling us there's 3 ways to do it, and number 1 is the preferable way to do it. If we have board members here actually live streaming it, it's all live, and we can have 1 board member, 2 board members, whoever wants to attend can actually be the proxy vote. There's going to be a thing called V-Voter. It's a V-Voter system. It's a training thing that will have to take place. If also Mr. Kirkham wants to probably watch that, and I know Dan's going to help us get the IT part of it set up. But we have someone that will be voting online while we're watching the business session live. So if you guys want to discuss the resolutions, you can beforehand and get a feel for which way you want to vote on the resolutions. I know those are on the website. And then we just submit the vote live in session on that Thursday. So what do you guys think of meeting or using someone to be a proxy? And give me your feedback a little bit on that. And if not, then you guys can call me or email me on what you want to do. If you want to attend, if not attend. Which, yeah, we've discussed that, and that's fine. Business meeting.
I think for me anyway, it'd probably be simpler if we just came down here and met at the school, and then some people can.
I know it is different this year. Virtual, it's not the same in person being there. And I've actually, well, the first year last year I was at the clerk's meeting, so I've never went to a business session before. But we can have it set up here where we can watch it, and then just one person casting a vote with.
Yes, please. Like, we can make it as normal as we want to. Like, when we're at the conference, we just sit around the table, and then when one of them comes up, the resolutions, we quickly talk about it, we cast a vote. Like, what they prefer us to do, and it's just based on what we can do, is everybody meet right here, Amy sitting on a computer, a resolution comes up, you guys talk about it, how you want to vote on the resolution, Amy puts in the vote. Like, I mean, like, we can make it almost identical to what we normally do. It gets a little bit trickier, I think, if people want to be here virtually, but it's all probably doable, I guess. So that's what we're looking at.
I can be here, so I'm fine to do that way if there's a few of us that can meet.
And even if people can't meet, that's still the same as the conference. We generally we don't normally have everybody there. So if people can't make it, we just get who we can and vote how you guys want to.
Yeah, one person per proxy. It's just we have the one login, one laptop set up, and then watching the business meeting. Whoever can make it, just let me know. Just send me an email, whatever's good.
So we'll be here
So this
that
would
morning.
be 9 o'clock our time.
I believe
This is mountain time.
Oh, yes, 9 o'clock, yeah.
So we will be in here at that time, and whoever shows up, so we'll just do it like normal. And we'll vote and go through it.
Does anyone have any other questions or?
Okay. I'm still up.
Parent-teacher.
Parent-teacher conferences. So we're doing those a little bit different this year. And if you're a parent, you already saw this probably. But we're setting up just online appointments with parents that can do it that way. And we'll also do things over the phone too if anybody wants to. But each teacher right now has 24 appointments set up during that parent-teacher conference time. And so a link was sent out for every parent, for every teacher, to all the parents. And any teacher that a parent wants to meet with can just click on that link and click on an appointment time. that generates an online appointment, just like what we did with us and Mark today. So then the teacher and the parent both click on join the meeting at the same time. They have 15 minutes to meet, and then that's it. They can do it wherever they want, wherever they are. They can do it at home. Report cards, all that stuff will be in parents' hands beforehand, and so the parents have something there that they're talking about as well. Part of this is just because we want to decrease the traffic of parents in and out of the classrooms and the teachers and so forth. The high school and the elementary wanted to be consistent together, and part of it is just maybe try it out and see how it is. And if it's something that works well for people, and if it does, maybe we'll do some more things like this, and if it doesn't, then we scrap it. But we also are telling parents that if you can't meet virtually for whatever reason, just call the office and we'll set something up with the teacher and the parent. Because we don't want it to be a roadblock for people to talking with teachers. Okay. And we have, since the original email went out, and I think we're going to do a follow-up this week as far as sending something out. We've had people starting to sign up. The coronavirus relief funds. So the district, and I sent some stuff out on this earlier. The district is going to be receiving about $78,000 in relief funds. It's in our GRA account.
Yeah,
So it's something that gets drawn down as we use it, and it's already there, right?
it's there.
Yeah, so we got it. So these funds have to be spent essentially by December 30th on COVID-related items. Could include technology, professional development, equipment and services to help minimize spread, costs associated with social distancing, staff stipends for extra duties or time related to COVID-19, additional staff members to accommodate smaller class sizes, etc. Essentially, it has to be COVID-related in some way. The KEA petitioned the board to reopen negotiations regarding this money. So the first action item tonight will be considering that request. And then I also put together a spending plan for the money before we got the petition to reopen. That'll be a later action item. So once the board decides how they want to address the first action item, that'll dictate how they address the second one. So if we were, so essentially in that scenario, with the spending plan that I put like in the second or third action item, we can either consider it, we can let it die for lack of motion, or you could always table it until later. Those are kind of the three options, it seems like.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, Mark.
Mark, can you repeat those three options again?
Well, what number was it? So in action item C, 8C, our options based on what we do in 8A would be to consider the spending plan in 8C. You could also just let it die for lack of motion, or you could table it as well, I guess, if you wanted to pick it up later. That's probably not a very viable option because the clock's ticking, but those first two are probably the best two options. Either consider it or just let it die if we, after you know what you're doing with 8A.
Okay, that's fine. I lost your voice there before we began.
Yep.
So thank you.
Yep. That's all I have. Is there any questions?
All right, thank you, Steve. Are there any trustee reports? I and Steve attended virtually the regional ISBA meeting, and basically what it was is they had it on Zoom and they went over the resolutions, talked a little bit about it. So, I like the Zoom format. It's probably easier for most people than driving somewhere and being at a meeting. Ken Hart's our regional representative, and he did a good job of kind of shepherding the meeting. So, I'd like to see more of those Zoom meetings and not so many, traveling meetings. As far as the resolutions go, they're mostly what we've heard before. I didn't think there was much new, so. Just, more, better school funding and school early childhood funding, that's what we're hearing. Is there any questions on that? Okay. Now we'll move to the action items, I guess. And the first action item is to consider the KDA petition to reopen the 2021 negotiation.
I see no point in doing this. I think what Steve laid out explains it very well. These are pretty well limited what you can do for these funds. It's not like we're gonna put them in our pocket or anything. I mean, and the majority of the funds are going to staff. Anyway.
May I speak?
Did you want to speak?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So state law dictates that teacher compensation has to be done in an open manner, i.e. negotiations. This, as Chad said, this money is going to go to, in large proportion, to the teachers and staff, and there's other revenue streams provided by the state for personal development and technology. We're not only interested in the $78,000, we don't really want to do anything more. Negotiations should be very, very quick. Reopening negotiations would be the board's affirmation of having an open, honest relationship with teachers.
So I don't really understand what's the point of it. We'll reopen them up. I don't,
That's what state law dictates. Teacher compensation and benefits are to be just negotiated.
And didn't we do that?
Yeah. And then this came up. This is on.
There's always next year.
There's nothing in the master contract says we have to reopen negotiations with them.
no, there's not.
And we've checked that with our attorney. I think there's a time issue here, and I think we need to act tonight on this. And make our decision tonight to get things rolling, to get the desks or whatever we're going to purchase. So I'm not really particularly in favor of reopening the negotiation.
Well, so when I didn't know how to address this, so when I asked Amy White about how do we have the board decide whether or not to reopen or not, and she said just put it in an action item, and then, if there's a motion to reopen, then the board can vote on it. If there isn't, then there isn't. Then it would die for lack of motion, I guess. But this is how she asked us to address it like this.
Is there any other discussion on this issue? Since the chair hears no motions, we'll assume that we won't act. There is no action on the petition to reopen negotiation. We'll move on to the next action item, which is approve the school nurse agreement. Steve, would you like to discuss that?
This is almost the same agreement Let me look at it here. This is almost the identical agreement that we've had the last couple of years, I guess. The only thing that I changed is in Article 4, I put the nursing services will be 6 to 8 hours per month. In the past, it's been 6 hours per month. But I wanted to add the option of going up a little bit because Dory has requested a few extra hours for some growing up classes in the spring. So it might add maybe 3 or 4 hours to the whole year. Other than that, it's the same as what we've had in the past.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 school district nurse agreement.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the school district nurse agreement for this school year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Action item 8C is consider a spending plan for coronavirus relief fund dollars. Steve, do you want to talk any more about this?
I guess it's pretty straightforward, but the first one there is just under $50,000 for $800 stipends for staff for extra duties and assignments that people have been doing related to COVID. And I list off some of the things that teachers and staff have been doing that they don't normally do. With this one, if this were approved, I would have a quick form that folks fill out as far as basically kind of listing off some of the things that they've been doing, and this is just a recommendation as far as, you know, somewhat of a paper trail for tracking those types of things. The other one is desks. This is just an effort to try to get caught up on desks at the high school. You know, we've been purchasing a few desks every year, but we've been losing just as many, and so we haven't been making very much ground, and we need to. We've also got some places where tables, we want to replace tables with desks, and just be more consistent from classroom to classroom, so when we do have classes that move through different sizes, we can take desks from one room and put them in another teacher's room if they need them. We can't do that if half of our staff are tables and half are you know, tables in some classrooms like science, can be a good idea because of the projects and stuff like that, but some of the other classrooms it's better to have desks. Bottle filler stations, cafeteria tables and outdoor tables, and a lot of these things are you know, related to like distancing. The desks, the tables, things like that. The bottle filler stations, of course, as far as like contact and things like that. So that's it.
Would it be possible, instead of giving the staff $800 apiece, giving the ones that are not on the insurance the check, but putting the rest in the medical fund and lowering the deductible from $750 to $500? Which would make the money go farther.
Explain that one more time.
Well, the employees that aren't on the insurance, give them a check.
Yes.
The ones like, you know, like Eric and the teachers and you guys that are all on contract, you gotta do this work anyway, no matter what you do. But if we were to put the money into the medical account and lower the deductible from $750 to say $500,
Yeah.
the use would, it'd be a better use for the money, I would think. And, you know, $800 isn't gonna go very far. But if every year you only pay a $500 deductible, it would last a lot longer and help more people out. It would be a longer time.
I'm not sure if we would be able to show that we spent that money by December 30th. What,
The stipulation for the funds, is it COVID related though? Like how,
Yeah, that would be.
that might, the stipulations might not allow that, possibly.
yeah,
I don't know.
I guess I'd have to consider that. That's a good idea. Yeah.
But, it would, and if we have to get new teachers, it would attract them because of lower deductible on insurance. I'm just, I want to think of the long run instead of the short term, so.
Yeah, I think like the challenge that like we're gonna run up against is the time period. And being able to say that it's COVID related.
But the staff and teachers can certainly use that $800 towards their medical. I mean, it could be used towards that, they have the freedom of putting it towards what's
I see
their
that.
choice.
And like that would last 1 year, and $500 deductible instead of $750 would last year after year. That's my own thought. Make it more efficiently used.
And even these things right here that I have listed, like these are flexible if you guys have different ideas for this. I mean, this really is.
I think it's smart to use some of that money on stuff that's gonna be long, great for the tables and things like that we need. And I think the social distancing, even when we start to see a turn of the pandemic, I think there's some thought that that's a good system. Even when we have bad flu seasons and things like that, some of this is gonna probably translate to how we run schools more in the future.
Well, I think part of the point of this relief fund is to get the money to people and get it spent, so, carrying over is probably not part of the point. But I do think we do need the desk, because this is going to be with us. They're not talking about vaccinating children for a long time, so we'll at least need the desk through this year, so I think it'd be a good investment.
Sorry, this is Mark jumping in. I was losing audio on
I think those recommendations are good. I think I would support a motion to consider this spending plan, the relief fund dollars.
Did you make a motion, Shelby?
I did.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded that we should spend the COVID relief fund in the way presented. Does everybody understand what the motion is and how we're going to do it? So we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the spending plan for the coronavirus relief fund, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So, action item 8D, which is the audit report, but since the audit report is not final, what do we do about that? We can't accept it, right?
I think we can still accept it. It's in the form that she presented it. I actually think we have a timeline that we have to do that anyway. Don't we?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we've been bugging the accountant for KJ7 for the last 2 weeks, and they were supposed to have it to us yesterday, and then he emailed me last night, said he'd have it there today. We still haven't seen it. That's the only thing missing from that report, and like she said, nothing's gonna change.
So we make a motion to approve the draft format, and I guess if we need to meet and approve it once we get the final and do a quick.
Yeah, maybe like in the draft format or as presented or something like that.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 20 audit report from Hayden Ross in the format that was presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the fiscal year 20 audit results presented by Hayden and Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, policies, agenda item 9. I guess I'll just let you start out.
Been waiting for this. Okay, so most of these policy updates are updates of policy based on the Title IX laws and policies that came out, so it changed other policies. Okay. 3085, the procedure for 3085. ISB Legal Counsel combed through this recently released procedure and was able to condense it significantly and make the structure more intuitive to follow. While many of the suggested practices in the initial procedure have not changed, we recommend you utilize this procedure when dealing with possible or confirmed Title IX cases. So this is the procedure that we just adopted, and they took it from 40-some pages to 20-some pages in the fall update. So this is, we're just reviewing these changes. This is the updated policy. It's really no different than what we've already adopted. It's just condensed. And so next meeting we'll be able to decide if we want to adopt the amended version. It's still a long one though. Okay, the next one is 3285. And I'm going to talk about a few of these all together, but you can see the highlighted parts there that are the updates, and it's related to the new Title IX laws and policies. So what ISBA said about 3285, as well as 3290, which is later on, 4120 and 4120F, is these updates include language that will refer employees or students to the new Title IX policy and procedure on sexual harassment. We recommend looking at all cases of sexual harassment through a lens of the Title IX policy. If upon determination of the Title IX coordinator it does not qualify as a Title IX issue, the event may be addressed through the applicable policies. These are required updates. So this applies to 3285, 3290, 4120, and 4120F. It just takes that policy and refers it to the new Title IX policy. So these aren't necessarily substantial changes. Okay, I'm kind of chunking these, so if I lose you, I apologize. Okay, now I'm going to refer to 5240, 5250, 5275, and 5800P, the procedure. The new Title IX regulations mutually apply to students and staff of the district or school. Instead of creating two separate policies, this will direct employees to the Title IX policy and procedure. If the Title IX coordinator determines that Title IX complaint does not apply to the matter, the instance of harassment or intimidation in the workplace may be addressed through the applicable policy that we already have. So all four of those do the same thing. Am I okay to keep going through this like this?
Yeah.
Okay. And the next one that I'm going to look at is 8605. This is the retention of district records. And it looks like this. It's got all of the table on it. So the update on this one is on page 6. It's highlighted there. This update provides a timeline for the destruction of any recordings or online or distance instruction that might be made by a district or school. For instance, if a teacher records him or herself explaining how to multiply fractions and makes that video available online so that students can refer to it later, this instruction timeline would apply. And so it's only till the end of the semester. So I guarantee you we're fully compliant with that anyway. But we'll send something out anyway to staff. And that, of course, is added just because of the way things are right now with online learning. Okay, the next one is a new policy in the fall update, 5620. So 5620 says, ISBA worked with the state insurance fund to create a work safety policy that may prevent injury and help mitigate workers' compensation claims. This is a recommended policy. So this policy, really what it does is it gives people recommendations as to how to approach work safety situations to help mitigate issues, is what it does. And so it's one that, at the beginning of the year, we give out a whole bunch of policies to people, to staff members, in the staff handbook. This would be one that we would add to staff members when we give them out at the beginning of the year. Is there any questions on policy? That's the last one. So most of them were reviewing for amendments, and then that last one was the only new one. Yeah, there's no questions. That's all I have on.
Okay. Any input from the board for future agenda items? I guess the only thing left is to adjourn then. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. We're adjourned.